Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to my channel. So in this channel, I sit down and drink coffee and talk over some of my gameplay. I started this project to help me process my grief over losing my mother recently and to, process through the turmoil that followed after the rich family responsible bought the favor of the Hall of Court Justice. So I do, however, want to turn this podcast into something positive and has decided to use this time for research into mental and emotional well-being and share it with you, the listeners who came to hang out with me today. So in today's episode, I'd like to touch on physical intimacy and how it's a necessary component in building healthy relationships. So just a little bit of backstory. The past week, I guess more than a week, I've been staying up all night feeling, neglected and rejected and all of those things. And I was able to basically boil it down to the lack of affection that I was receiving from my partner. And it's all resolved now. And it's being in a relationship, it really reveals so much about yourself, even things that you do not know about yourself, which is actually something that I talked over with some of my female friends, and it's helpful having friends to talk to. Hence this project, so that I can talk to people even without being with them physically. So there's that. And for this episode, I did look up some studies and some articles. I will link some of the articles in the description box below in case you want to read up on them yourself. So with this, I was able to look up some benefits of the human touch. And did you know that touch can strongly transmit a sense of being accepted and cared for? Touch also confers physiological benefits, which makes sense, right? Physical touch means physiological benefits. In a 2008 study by Lee Ditson, Christian Hopman, and Petra Klumb, they learned that physical intimacy accounted for 7% of the cortisol variance among 51 dual earner couples. Very helpful. Work-related stress was buffered due to interaction with their partners. And in a 2007 study by Ditson, Newman, Bodenman, Von Douwen, Sterner, Ehlert, and Heinrichs, 67 women aged 20 to 37 and were either married or cohabiting with a male partner for at least 12 months were exposed to a standardized psychosocial laboratory stressor. Participants were assigned to 3 groups. Side note, 67 women divided into 3 groups does not make an even number. I don't know why that took my grabbed my attention, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So in the first study group, composed of 25 women, they had no partner interaction prior to the stress test. The second group, composed of 22 women, received verbal social support, while the remaining 22 women received physical contact, i.e., standardized neck and shoulder massage. Women with positive physical partner contact before stress exhibited significantly lower cortisol and heart rate responses to stress. In the second group, verbal social support alone was not associated with reduced stress responsiveness. Now, I realize that these were clinical studies and very controlled, and I'm sure it's different when it's, here in the outside world where we have all of these other factors. But in this controlled environment, it's also easy to see the direct correlation between physical intimacy between partners and how it directly affects the stress levels experienced by either person. Although I did look more specifically into how it affected women in my age group, I guess. So These studies are consistent with previous human studies, and what I find interesting is that verbal social support by a romantic partner is not enough to reduce stress among women. Interesting, right? While I'm sure that this scientific fact varies among different personality types, it's easy to see that physical intimacy is actually necessary for couples building a healthy relationship. One would just have to think of the number of people separated today because of travel restrictions and how relationships, not just romantic ones, have to come up with ways to stay connected, especially with physical distancing protocols in place. And think of the people who make long distance relationships work. I mean, it's something that I personally see in my future, considering that I have intentions to pursue graduate studies overseas. And honestly, it's scary, but I'll save that train of thought for another time. So, I do have some key takeaways from today's quote research. First, for us, it's important to explore ways to express physical intimacy when intercourse is off the table. Learn how to give body and foot massages, maybe spend time resting in each other's arms or putting your hand on your partner's nape or back of the neck while driving, and know your partner's preferred places to be touched. If you're unsure, ask. And that's another thing that I keep on realizing and relearning, I suppose. So I was talking about this whole thing over. It has been bothering me for days. So I talked to some of my friends about it, and the main thing that I got from that conversation is, just be more assertive about it. Just speak up about it and say something instead of just thinking all of it and just burdening yourself with these negative thoughts. And it's a I've said this many times before, but it's something that I really am trying, because I grew up just keeping things to myself, and I guess it's also something that I learned from a previous church that I was affiliated with, because we were taught and trained to, and this was in my youth, we were taught and trained to just keep our opinions slash criticisms slash thoughts to ourselves and just follow the authority figures. And it's it's I guess it's not a great lesson, but and like what I told my another friend the other day, it's good that we now know better. So being in your 20s, you really learn a lot, and I'm hoping that for me, now that I'm in my late 20s, these lessons are things that I will bring with me into my early 30s and help me have better relationships in general, and at the same time be able to pass on these lessons to people younger than me. So that's it for today. This is my first scripted episode, which I suppose accounts for the reason why it's shorter. I caught myself rushing through the words, but there's that learning curve. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to add, please do leave a comment below. And if you'd like to support my channel, you can buy me a cup of coffee in the Ko-fi link below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Bye!